advantage of major market moves. Call the Patriot Trading Group at 1-800-951-0592. No hassle, no hype, no bait and switch, and no complaints. After 2 decades of service, we're still here for you. Call 1-800-951-0592 or go to allamericangold.com and you'll be treated with honesty and respect. You have my word on it. I'm Eric Cedarstrom, CEO, shipping clerk, and janitor.
Great Plains Power has been providing reliable electrical power systems in the Rocky Mountain area since 1992. Our systems rely on the sun to help make you self-reliant for your power needs. Solar energy can be scaled to fit any situation, from complete power independence to backup power for the short term. Our expertise focuses on standalone power, but we have extensive experience with utility interactive systems as well. Custom-tailored capabilities as modest as emergency lighting all the way to commercial-scale power. Great Plains Power is a full-service company. We service everything we sell. We provide and design turnkey packages, custom-designed system, and parts for do-it-yourself. With more than 20 years of specialized experience at your disposal, let us know what your power concerns or goals are. Reach us by phone or the Internet. Call 303-239-9963. That's 303-239-9963. Or go to GreatPlainsSolar.com.
Secretary of State John Kerry gives his first major foreign policy speech, and it's all about climate change. A British Parliament member stomps out of a debate at Oxford University when he learns his opponent is to be an Israeli. Iran continues to get closer and closer to having nuclear warheads. Students in Texas are threatened with zeros on their essays because they wrote about guns. Statistics, in fact, show that guns prevent 3,600 rapes a day. Trends forecaster Gerald Celente talks about the fast-approaching death of America. And, thanks to Obamacare, a sick 80-year-old man was recently forced to make a choice while standing on line at his local pharmacy. Pay cash or die. My name is Howard Riell, and this is Real Truth. You're listening to the American Freedom Network, streaming live around the world at AmericanNewsNet.com and on Facebook and on YouTube and in the book Real Truth, Stay Angry. And, of course, as always, broadcasting out across the Colorado Front Range on KHNC, Johnstown, Colorado, 1360 AM, The Lion. Our call-in number, 877-254-7524. My friends, this is it. The end of the week. Let's make the next hour count. Item. From the Weekly Standard, Secretary of State John Kerry gave his first major foreign policy speech today. In his address delivered at the University of Virginia, he discussed tackling climate change. We as a nation must have the foresight and courage to make the investment necessary to safeguard the most sacred trust we keep for our children and grandchildren, an environment not ravaged by rising seas, deadly superstorms, devastating droughts, and the other hallmarks of a dramatically changing climate, said Kerry. Unquote. Excuse me, what? What did he say? Was Mr. Kerry named Secretary of the Environment? Was he named head of a meteorological? No, he was named Secretary of State. So I'm wondering why the Secretary of State is talking about the environment. But you know what? Now that I think about it again, it makes sense. Given the fact that we live in an era in which NASA's number one mission is outreach to Muslims. And so why wouldn't some phony, baloney, liberal moron like John Kerry hit the trail as Secretary of State talking about the weather? Item from Ross Story. The outspoken Parliament member George Galloyd has sparked anger by storming out of a debate at Oxford University after he discovered his opponent was Israeli. The Respect Parliament member for Brad West has been due to debate the motion Israel should withdraw immediately from the West Bank at Oxford College Christchurch on Wednesday evening with student Elan Aslan Levy. Footage posted on YouTube, and my friends, you can see it there because I've seen it, shows Galloway picking up his coat and leaving after Aslan Levy referred to Israelis as we. and then confirmed he was an Israeli citizen. Reports said Galloway had spoken for about 10 minutes before his abrupt exit. "I've been misled. Sorry," Galloway says in the video. "I don't recognize Israel, and I don't debate with Israelis," unquote. Well, my friend, that's not the reputation Mr. Galloway has. I've heard he's a master debater. The fact of the matter is, he is British. British for centuries have been anti-Semitic. That means they're racist. That means they're haters. It means I am going to love watching the Muslims slowly eat away at the underbelly of Britain. They don't want the Jews? Good. You've welcomed the Muslims. Enjoy them. Item from Fox News. Western diplomats say Iran has started installing high-tech machines at its main uranium enrichment site that are capable of accelerating activity that can produce reactor fuel and, with further upgrading, the core of a nuclear warhead. Iran already said last week it had begun installation, but diplomats said at the time that the announcement was premature, with the enriching centrifuges on site but not yet being put into place. Stop! Iran said it had begun installation, but diplomats in the West said, no, of course they didn't. We know better than the Iranians about what the Iranians are doing. Fools! That's bad enough. That we in the West and those who represent us are fools is bad enough. It's not the diplomats who will pay if, God forbid, the Iranians are allowed to start manufacturing nuclear warheads. It's the Israelis, it's the Americans, it's the people, it's us. We will feel the repercussions, not the diplomats. It is obscene and disgusting that Iran still exists, building nuclear weapons, telling us openly they intend to use them to commit nuclear homicide, and we twiddle our thumbs, and we kick the can down the road, and we do nothing. My friends, before the sun sets today, I would love to see Iran reduced to rubble. Not just to end the nuclear threat there, but to send the message to the rest of the jihadi world. Give up your ambition for world dominion. Give up any plans you have on getting nuclear weapons, because if you do, it will signal your extinction. Item from the BBC. A massive car bomb explosion in the Syrian capital, Damascus, has killed at least 53 people and injured another 200, reports say. State media blame terrorists for the blast in a central district near the headquarters of Syria's ruling Ba'ath Party. TV pictures showed images of bodies, wrecked cars, and shattered windows. The violence comes as Russia and the Arab League say they want to broker direct government opposition talks. Some 70,000 people have died since the uprising against President Bashar al-Assad began in March 2000. Unquote. My friends, how are we going to have peace in the Middle East? Obviously, we've got to pressure the Israelis, because the Israelis are troublemakers, aren't they? I'm being funny. Where you find Arabs, you find violence. You find killing, you find things going boom. Whether it's Syria, Egypt, you name it. Where you have Arabs and where you have Muslims, you have violence. My friends, I'm not being politically correct. I'm speaking the truth, though. The name of the show is not Real Political Correctness. It's Real Truth. Where you find Arab nations, you find killing. If there are no Jews or Christians to kill, they kill each other. It's been a constant for thousands of years. It's not going to change anytime soon. Only liberals think it may change. I say that the United States should immediately dispatch John Kerry to Syria to teach them about global warming. Yes, it's come to that, my friends. American foreign policy is now the stuff of absurd humor. It's a ridiculous situation, and we've been brought here by the politicians that you and I have sent to D.C. It's Thursday on Real Truth. We'll be right back.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Tom Phillips, founder of the Green Herb.
Is it me, or have you noticed that personal service is becoming a thing of the past? Is a big store with untrained personnel, or going to a vitamin store and finding several brands of the same herbal product, all at different prices? You don't need to be an herbal expert at the Green Herb. We'll gladly help you decide which of the Green Herb's exclusive products will work for you and work better than anything you buy elsewhere. and we'll give you an old-fashioned money-back guarantee. Come by the Green Herb, located in Wheat Ridge, Colorado, on the I-70 frontage road north, 1 mile west of Kipling, or call 888-765-HERB. That's 888-765-4372, or go to our website at www.thegreenherb.com. It's the Green Herb's policy to give you small-town service in the big city. And be sure to listen to the Green Herb Show with Linda and Dr. Cass every Tuesday at 1 o'clock on KHNC.
And let us consider one another in order to stir up love and good works, not forsaking the assembling of ourselves together, as is the manner of some, but exhorting one another, and so much more as you see the day approaching. This is Pastor Michael Golden. My wife Danny and I would like to invite you to join us at the Voice of Many Waters congregation for a Mikra HaKodesh, a holy convocation, every Saturday, Shabbat, at 1 p.m. at 3J's Christian Coffee House, 21 North Parish Avenue in Johnstown. We'll be having praise and worship, fellowship, midrash teaching and study time, followed by an oneg. Check out our website at www.voiceofmanywaters.org. That's voiceofmanywaters.org. Or call us at 1-303-522-3562. Let us hold fast the confession of our hope without wavering, for he who promised is faithful.
Welcome back to Real Truth. Howard Riell presiding. Gerald Celente was a guest on this show many months ago. He's back with us via video, talking about what he likes to call the death. I'm sure he doesn't like it, but what he's calling the death of America. This video is about 7 or 8 weeks old. It doesn't matter. The future remains the future. Let's listen to Gerald Celente.
Hi, this is Gerald Celente, and here are some of today's trends in the news. We had recorded earlier a piece for today covering the economy, global affairs, and other issues. And we're not going to provide that tonight, considering what just happened in Connecticut with the shooting of some 27 people, the death of them. We were having coffee early this morning, starting the day, and we have really prime coffee and a great coffee machine, coffee maker, and had some wonderful imported panettone, real great quality. We were talking and saying how fortunate we are and how much we have. And I said, when it changes like that, and then about 3 hours later, we got the news that it changed like that. So what's going on in America? You've heard me talking about this before. This is nothing new. I've been around a long time. And this is a very different country. I remember back in the 50s, and I've said this before, there was this book written by Truman Capote in Cold Blood. I'll never forget, I was a teenager watching the movie. It was about these two guys, and I think they were whacked out on aspirin, as it turned out to be. And Robert Blake, I believe, played in it. Somebody Blake, I forget. I think his name is Robert. And about these two guys that terrorized this farm family in the middle of nowhere, and they killed the 4 members of the family. And now that wouldn't even be news today. It would break into the news and out of the news. Just like the news on this past Tuesday, that another guy went berserk in a mall in Oregon and killed 2 people and seriously wounded another. April 2nd, a gunman kills 7 people and wounds 3 in shooting rampage at a Christian college in Oakland, California. July 20th, a masked gunman kills 12 people and wounds 58 when he opens fire on moviegoers at a showing of the Batman movie, The Dark Knight Rises, in Aurora, Colorado. August 5th, a gunman killed 6 during Sunday services at a Sikh temple in Oak Creek, Wisconsin. He wasn't a Sikh, of course. He was some guy from the outside that thought Sikhs were Muslims and wanted to kill him. Think about that. That the hatred that's built up because of these wars, where this guy went and took it out on innocent people.
Minor correction to Mr. Salente. The hatred that was displayed that day towards Muslims is not because of wars. It's because, let's speak plainly here, this is a place of truth. It's because of the Quran. And because the Quran calls upon Muslims to conquer the world through violence, brutality, and horror. It's happening in Europe, it's happening all across the globe, it's happening in the Middle East, it's happening here. That is why the anger. Maybe Gerald Salente doesn't want to say it. Maybe he doesn't know it for all I know. But that's the fact. Let's go back to him.
Stupid enough to know he was being lied to, and too stupid enough to understand that he got the wrong people. September 27th, a disgruntled former employee kills 5 in a Minneapolis sign company. October 21st, 3 people are killed in a Milwaukee area spa, including the estranged wife of the suspected gunman. December 14th, a shooter opens fire in Sandy Hook Elementary School in Newton, Connecticut. Here we are. And there are more. These are some of them. What's going on? It's a societal breakdown. These are just some of the notes that I put together in thinking about this. They're going to blame guns and call for gun control. That's going to be the first knee-jerk reaction. There's something like 300 million loose guns out there. You can have all the gun control in the world you want. This isn't going to stop it. It's a much greater issue, but it'll be a knee-jerk reaction. And as reported, Newton, Connecticut School District had recently installed new safety protocols to prevent situations of this that just happened. Doesn't work like that. But those are going to be the knee-jerk reactions. And then you're going to hear on the media and all the TV, what were the psychological causes that flipped this guy out, or what was going on in the family that flipped the switch. And of course, there are going to be a lot of psychological issues. But what they're guaranteed not to do in the media is to recognize that this is a symptom of a much broader societal breakdown. It is truly the death of America at so many different levels. There's the broken family structure. It's a very different family than when I grew up. You know, my mother was home, and believe me, boy, you know, there were times when you were happy that she was there when you came home from school and cooking dinner. And I was out of my mind, you know, I used to get in trouble all the time, and it was great to have Mom there when I needed her. And then, of course, there's the dysfunctional families. Look what's going on now. You know, people having kids that are kids, coming from nothing, knowing nothing, and having more children. And this dysfunction just keeps spreading. We have widespread economic hardship. And a lot of people in this society, which is so consumer-driven, are facing a futureless future. As people who have traveled around the world know, you could go to very poor countries and the people behave much more civilized than they do over here. So yes, money is a factor, but particularly in this country it's a factor. And then there's the movie, music, television, and video game industries that are obsessed with violence. It's continual. It never stops. It's around the clock. It's 24/7. Go to the movies. Turn on the TV. Listen to the music. It's in front of us all the time, and these video games are at levels of violence that are incomprehensible. You think it has any effect? I don't need somebody to write into me and say there are no proven studies that show there are no psychological effects. You eat poison, you die of poison. You drink poison, you'll die of poisoning. You take in poison information, entertainment, music, movies, TV, your mind gets poisoned. Save it for somebody else. And the fish rots from the head down. It's a nation that glorifies itself in violence. We have wars that kill people indiscriminately. And we have a president that launches drone attacks on suspected militants. We have torture. It's a country where morality has long lost its way. If you see stealing from the banks, killing from the government, what kind of message does that leave for the younger people whose minds are just forming? This is a 20-year-old kid. When I think back of who I was at 20 years old, and this is no lie, when I was a kid, my brothers and sisters used to say, you're not going to make it till 21. That used to be the line for me. And you're just growing up, and your mind is malleable, and it's formed with images. I've said it before, and I'll keep saying it. When people lose everything and have nothing left to lose, they lose it. And it's a prescription drug, illegal drug society that's drug addicted, violence fed, and morally vacant. And as long as we keep staying like that, we're going to continue to grow new breeds of sociopaths and psychopaths who won't be able to handle the pressures around them and are going to go berserk. And unfortunately, as I said as I began this, and proven by examples, the officials and the authorities will call for greater security, more surveillance. It's already happening. Now they're even putting audio surveillance on buses and trolley cars and trains to listen to us. And more of an abrogation of constitutional rights. This is a very sad day for America. And as the trends are going, unfortunately, unless we rise to a higher level and denounce this violence that rots with the head of the fish down, we're going to see much worse to come. This is Gerald Celente. And that's some of today's trends in the news.
We are going to see more to come, my friends. Do you look across the American landscape and see anyone attempting to reverse this societal drain? You don't. Nor do I. It's not going to happen. Because it's easier to just say, oh, we'll spend more money on education. Well, that doesn't really do very much, does it? We spend untold billions more on education than we did 60 or 70 years ago. And students 60 or 70 years ago were far better educated here in America. So it's not the amount of money. Don't think you can sneak out of it by writing a check. We got to change the way we think. We got to change the way we live. Got to change the way we raise our children. I'd like to think it's possible, but the realist in me says it ain't. Item from the Blaze. The University of North Dakota has suspended men's basketball play-by-play announcer Paul Ralston for 2 games because he used the phrase choke job to describe a tough overtime loss to Northern Arizona University. The sports website TheSpread.com defines the phrase choke job as losing a wager, in this case a basketball game, that you thought you had won. It's unclear why using that term would lead to a suspension, unquote. Well, it's not unclear to me, my friends. The same people who will put 5-year-olds in handcuffs and lead them out of a classroom. Same people who will suspend a 3-year-old kid in school for drawing a picture of a gun have hair triggers, and if they hear something that even sounds funky, they will react rather than think. See the previous item for how well we're doing in America. Item from the Blaze. Earlier this week in Denton, Texas, the First Amendment seems to have been compromised by a few high school essays that mention the second one. High school seniors at Denton High School were given a simple assignment in English class. Write a paragraph about something you did over the weekend. There was no additional direction on topics for the essay. However, a few students who wrote about guns, including attending a gun show or going to shop for a gun, were told they'd be given a 0 on the assignment if they didn't change what they were writing about. The teacher, Mr. Dewey Christian, reportedly told the students the topic was unacceptable, unquote. My friends, it used to be that schools were designed to open the mind. Well, we've gotten so smart, so sophisticated, so educated, that now we have schools closing minds and censoring thought and limiting the scope of the world for youngsters. I've said it so many times, even I'm getting sick of hearing from it. What kind of brain-dead losers are we putting in charge of our children's education? From border to border in this nation, people running our schools are dummies. And it's just that simple. And that's another thing on the list of things to do. We'll be back.
If catastrophe struck, would your family be prepared? Are you confident you wouldn't react in a panic? Is there one place to get all of your emergency supplies? Ferris Survival encourages you to have confidence through preparation, not panic through crisis. Ferris Survival, located at 3366 South Broadway, is a professional, reputable, full-service business providing quality, realistic preparedness supplies at an affordable price. Go online, stop by, or call 303-781-0343. Ferris Survival.
The name is Patriot Trading Group, and the website is allamericangold.com. I'm Joe Jaquin, Vice President of the Patriot Trading Group, and we handle American gold for the American people because that's who we are and that's who we care about. So if you want your portfolio to help you get the job done, or if you want your IRA to be safe from Wall Street and the paper markets and your kids' future to be protected, then call us, the Patriot Trading Group, at 800-951-0592. You'll be glad you did.
Great Plains Power has been providing reliable electrical power systems in the Rocky Mountain area since 1992. Our systems rely on the sun to help make you self-reliant for your power needs. Solar energy can be scaled to fit any situation, from complete power independence to backup power for the short term. Our expertise focuses on standalone power, but we have extensive experience with utility interactive systems as well. Custom-tailored capabilities as modest as emergency lighting all the way to commercial-scale power. Great Plains Power is a full-service company. We service everything we sell. We provide and design turnkey packages, custom design system, and parts for do-it-yourself. With more than 20 years of specialized experience at your disposal, let us know what your power concerns or goals are. Reach us by phone or the Internet. Call 303-239-9963. That's 303-239-9963. Or go to GreatPlainsSolar.com. The Beth Messiah Congregation invites you to come and experience a Messianic Roots biblically based congregational fellowship as we observe God's Shabbat in Messiah Yeshua. Praise and worship services begin at 10:30 a.m., followed by an Oneg Shabbat meal, mid-Rosh, and fellowship. Beth Messiah Congregation is located at 8333 Acoma Way in North Denver. You can find out more information by calling 1-800-205-6245. Everyone's welcome, so join us this Shabbat. And Shabbat Shalom, good Sabbath. He was in the world, and the world was made through him, and the world did not know him. He came to his own, and his own did not receive him. But as many as received him, to them he gave the right to become children of God, to those who believe in his name, who were born not of blood, nor of the will of the flesh, nor of the will of man, but of God. The Gospel of John, chapter 1, verse 10 through 13.
Friends, welcome back to Real Truth. You know, you can't open your eyes in America these days without seeing an ad somewhere, so I'm waiting for an ad to go through. We're talking about guns and the freedom to own guns. Wild Bill for America is weighing in with a video that he calls the sneaky gun grab. I almost always like what Wild Bill says. Let's listen.
To every patriotic American, there is a very dangerous alliance forming in America, an alliance that threatens the civil rights of every patriotic American who stands for freedom. Obama is recruiting an army of so-called mental health professionals to help curb gun violence in the USA. After all, who can argue with the idea that mentally ill people should not have firearms? Problem is that the Obama administration can define mental illness any way they want. Well, guess who the Obama administration considers to be dangerous? American military veterans, Bible-believing Christians, homeschool parents, Tea Party members, pastors, ministers, members of the National Rifle Association, and basically anyone who opposes the liberal agenda. All it takes is an anonymous phone tip that a particular person may do something violent. Then getting a court order forcing a mental health evaluation, all in the name of preventing violence, and then to label that person as schizophrenic, bipolar, delusional, or any number of brand new mental illnesses invented just for this purpose. Once the mentally ill label is on them, they are stripped of their right to own firearms and are discredited for life. American patriots, beware. This may be the most sinister attack on our freedoms yet. And don't think that your children will be spared either. Once you are labeled as mentally ill, your children can be removed and placed in liberal foster homes. Now, how do we know about this? That's easy. The communists have been using the mental health ruse for years to get rid of their political opponents, and nobody admires the communists like the liberals of America. This is Wild Bill for America saying, keep your guard up, and America bless God again.
Well, thank you very much to Wild Bill for America. Wise words. Let's jump tracks a little bit. Let's talk money. Let's talk about the sequestration and exactly what it means for America. Here's another really bright guy named Charles Krauthammer talking on Fox News about exactly what the sequester is and what it has in common with the Mayan calendar. Let's listen.
And that is precisely why this is the most ridiculously hyped Armageddon since the Mayan calendar. In fact, it looks worse than the Mayan disaster. Look, this, as you say, can be solved in a day, in an hour, by allowing a transfer of funds. It's incredibly soluble, easily soluble. And the president is the one who ought to propose it. He won't, of course, because he is looking for a fight and not a solution. But secondly, look at this in perspective. In terms of the gross domestic product of our economy, this is 3/100 of the it's a third of 1% of our domestic economy. On the domestic side, well, overall, it's 2.5 cents on the dollar, and overall on the non-defense side, it's a penny and a half on the dollar of reductions. Here we are with a debt of $16 trillion, and the argument today is that if we cut a penny and a half on non-defense spending in 1 year, it's going to be the end of the world. If so, then we are hopelessly in debt, and we're going to end up like...
I want to continue this conversation.
My friends, that is a strategy. Don't argue about anything substantive. Find out who reached for a water bottle and make that the day's news. Or find about how we're going to spend a penny and a half out of every dollar. Anybody wants to know why you've got trend forecasters talking about the death of America? Anyone wants to know why our economy is being held together by Scotch tape and spit? It's because our leaders will not focus on real problems and offer real solutions, because you and I don't want that. We want them to tell us nice things, easy things, calm, reassuring things. If they tell us anything negative, we're going to go, well, I'm not going to vote for that guy again. And so in the end, we get the government that we deserve. Shame on us. Item from Raw Story. A motor vehicle commission office in New Jersey called the police on a man who refused to remove a pasta strainer from his head while having his driver's license photo taken. Aaron Williams, 25, said his pasta strainer was a religious head covering and that he had a right to wear it, according to the South Brunswick Police Department report obtained by the Smoking Gun. Williams told Patch on Tuesday he was a devout pastafarian and was merely showing his allegiance to the Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster by wearing the pasta strainer, unquote. My friends, that's pretty funny. Here's something that's not. Let's say this guy was not wearing a pasta strainer on his head. Let's say he was wearing a burqa, something that covered his entire face. Let's say he was a she, entire face except for the eyes. Well, you'd have a constitutional battle on your hands. Because after all, Muslims consider that they have to have their women dressed like that. And who are you to tell them to violate their religious beliefs? That's also where we are in America today. And if this guy, Aaron Williams, 25, was trying to highlight that hypocrisy and that stupidity, well, then he has earned my respect and my admiration. Item from frontpagemag.com. In Colorado, Democratic politicians like Joe Salazar insist that women cannot be trusted to fight off rapists with guns. After all, what happens if one of those women mistake a good Democrat like Joe Salazar for a rapist? But there's a certain amount of statistical evidence that rapists avoid attacking armed women. Not all these statistics are fully documented, but they're interesting nonetheless. The latest independent crime victims poll estimates that 512,000 rapes occur each year, 1,400 a day, and just under 17% are reported to the police. That agrees with the FBI numbers, so I'll go with the 512,000 rapes, with 17% or 1 in 6 reported to the police. With the magnitude of the problem established, in the early 1990s, a study concluded that 650 rapes a day were stopped because the victim was or may have been armed. But the number of women who carry and the number of homes with guns is much higher now. The latest prisoner surveys estimate that 3,600 rapes a day are never attempted because the victim either showed a gun, said she had a gun, or the rapist thought the victim had a gun for some other reason. So, one way or another, guns prevented 3,600 rapes a day, or more than 1.3 million rapes a year. That's an enormous amount of human misery prevented by the mere presence of a gun, unquote. So, my friends, don't let anyone, not in the government, not in your personal life, don't let anyone tell you that we need to have our guns taken away for our own good. It's a lie. And it's a potentially tragic lie. Item from governmentslaves.info from Dr. Lori Roth. This week I gasped in horror when I learned Obamacare had ordered Medicare to cut reimbursement for 4 million diabetic seniors by 66%. My friends, it doesn't end there. The horror continues on the other end of this commercial break. More Real Truth ahead. Go nowhere.
What? Good, clean, delicious water that's alkaline, high pH that I can make in my own home, and I don't have to carry in all those heavy bottles or cases of water. You're kidding me.
No, I'm not kidding you. With a Kangen water machine at your fingertips, you and your family can have clean, delicious, ionized, alkaline, high pH Kangen water, and so much more. Change your water, change your life. Call Rebecca Starnes at 720-209-9017. Again, 720-209-9017.
Square Root Construction is pleased to help support the American Freedom Network by offering a high-quality custom deck construction services. Established in 1990, Square Root Construction has been building high-quality decks and other types of outdoor living projects all along the Northern Front Range. We are licensed, insured, and have all the experience, knowledge, and skills to help you create the outdoor living oasis of your dreams. For your free consultation and no-obligation quote, give Doug a call at 303-517-8742 or visit us on the web at squarerootconstruction.com.
Passover is coming on Saturday, March the 23rd, and you're invited to celebrate Yeshua's Passover with the Beth Messiah congregation. Again, Passover is March 23rd at 6 p.m. at the Ramada Plaza Hotel. Call 1-800-205-6245 for reservations. Deadline is March the 8th. Main entrees are lamb and turkey. Adults are $35, children 10 to 12 are $15, children 6 to 9 are $13. Children 5 and under are free. Call today, 1-800-205-6245 for your Passover reservations. Our friends at Brush Housing Authority remind us that aging persons are especially susceptible during the winter months. Let's keep a special eye out for them during these cold days and nights, making sure their furnaces work correctly and that they have enough groceries and water. An occasional helping hand with snow shoveling can also keep an elderly person from a heart attack or breathing problems. That's from Brush Housing Authority, reminding listeners for housing programs, call 970-845-5046. That's 970-845-5046. Brush Housing Authority, wishing everyone a safe, happy, healthy winter season.
My friends, welcome back to Real Truth. Let's pick up this last item right where we left it off, okay? This week, writes Dr. Laurie Roth, I gasped in horror when I learned Obamacare had ordered Medicare to cut reimbursements for 4 million diabetic seniors by 66%. It also reduced all the companies that were supplying blood sugar monitoring supplies from 1,000 down to 15. I also learned via the research of Elizabeth Valiette, MD, that one of her 80-year-old patients was told he was not covered anymore by Medicare when he went to the pharmacy, so he couldn't get his medication. His choice was to pay cash or die. Obamacare is nothing more than a padded door to the ovens for the most needy and for our seniors. Obama plays all kinds of games and has lied from the very beginning about his health care assault weapon. He said over and over that people would still have the freedom to choose their doctor, that health care freedom and options would continue, and there was no such thing as death panels. Liar, liar, liar. Independent Payment Advisory Board is nothing but UN-elected bureaucrats Obama has put in place to control all health care and order all cuts and limits on people and groups. As with the IRS, the IPAB is Obama's SS and true death squad, unquote. Item from Front Page Mag. Sure, the Republicans could try to win over the 53% or blow them off while promoting amnesty for 11 million Democratic voters. More than half of U.S. citizens believe that most or all of the country's 11 million illegal immigrants should be deported, according to a Reuters Ipsos poll released on Wednesday that highlights the difficulties facing lawmakers trying to reform the U.S. immigration system. Stop! 53% of Americans want illegal aliens deported. Well, there are two things that jump out at you. Number one, if that many people want illegal aliens deported, why the hell isn't it happening? I thought we lived by majority rule. Number two, why is it only 53%? The first thing these people do when they enter our country is break our laws. Why the hell would we want them here, or their families, or their offspring? Why would we treat them to medical care and welfare and driver's licenses and education? Why only 53%? Why only 53%? Why is it not 93%? I just don't get it. Item from the Associated Press, Dateline, Tunisia. The cradle of the Arab Spring is increasingly looking like the birthplace of jihadists. Long before Tunisia ousted its dictator and inspired the North African pro-democracy movement, the small, relatively prosperous country had the more dubious distinction of exporting Islamic militants. Now, as the country wrestles with the creation of a new government after the killing of a liberal opposition leader, experts say the flow of fighters is getting worse. The repressive measures of the old secular dictatorship fueled the anger that produced jihadi movements, but its ruthless security apparatus also kept them largely in check. The much more relaxed approach of the country's new leaders is allowing extremist groups and their networks to flourish like never before, experts say. Stop! I'll read it again. The much more relaxed approach is allowing extremist groups and their networks to flourish like never before. Would you say our approach here in America is relaxed vis-a-vis jihad, Islamic jihad? I wouldn't. I wouldn't say our position is relaxed. I'd say we haven't got a position. I'd say we're clueless, deaf, dumb, and blind. Our leaders not only have no clue about the war we're involved with the Islamic world, which the Islamic world insists upon, they will rush to the defense of the Islamic world just in order to appear PC. Wonderful, wonderful recipe for the death of the West. Item from WorldNetDaily.com. WorldNet Daily has learned of the existence of a secret ballistic missile base in Iran's Semnan province, to which the Islamic regime has moved missiles armed with microbial warheads. The Badr base, a center for air defense, which has about 50 underground missile silos housing Iran's Shahab-3 ballistic missiles, serves as Iran's second largest missile launching site and is under the control of the Revolutionary Guards. The base in the deserts of Semnan, far from any city, has many underground tunnels connecting to the silo launching pads, according to a source in the Revolutionary Guards intelligence unit, unquote. So, the Iranians are hiding their ballistic bases. Who would have thought? I certainly would never have had an idea they were trying to do anything covert. Look, it's past time to yammer about let's do something. Past time to yammer about attacking their economy, putting sanctions in place. We have got to destroy Iran. Period. Anyone who tells you something different is an idiot or a liberal. Item from CNSnews.com. A State Department worldwide caution updating U.S. citizens about potential terror threats has little to say about the fact that most of the terror groups targeting Americans profess themselves to be inspired by Islam. The 2,000-word memo released this week does not use the word Muslim at all. Islam is used only where it appears in the actual name of a militant group, such as the Islamic Movement of Uzbekistan, and in reference to anti-Islamic videos and cartoons, which the department says were linked to some anti-Western violence last September, unquote. My friends, listen, I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want to get in trouble, so I'm not going to use the word Islam anymore. I'm not going to say Muslims anymore. From now on, I'll say the Quakers. From now on, it's Quakers who behead people, who blow things up, who are planning worldwide jihad. Man, you got to watch those Quakers. That's what I'll tell you. Item from the Dayton Daily News. A Kettering woman alleges in a lawsuit she was fired for voting for President Obama. The charge the company denies. Patricia Kunkel is seeking in excess of $25,000 from Dayton-based defense contractor Q-Mark Inc. and its president and owner, Roberta Bobby Gentile, in a suit filed in Montgomery County Common Pleas Court. Kunkel's lawsuit claims Gentile threatened employees with termination last year if President Obama was reelected, and that Obama supporters would be the first to be terminated if he were reelected. Stop. I love it. Damn right Obama supporters should be the first to be terminated. Because of Obama supporters, a guy who is intentionally torpedoing our economy is back in charge for another 4 years. If these people are so blatantly, criminally stupid as to have voted for this jerk, they may take a place on the back of the unemployment line. Hasta lumbago. We'll be right back.
Beloved, do not believe every spirit, but test the spirits, whether they are of God, because many false prophets have gone into the world. By this you will know the Spirit of God. Every spirit that confesses that Yeshua, Jesus, has come in the flesh is of God, and every spirit that does not confess that Yeshua, Jesus, has come in the flesh is not of God. And this is the spirit of Antichrist, which you have already heard was coming and is now already in the world. 1 John 4:1.
Article 4. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall be issued but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the places to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. Fort Collins Radiator Shop reminds listeners the effects of child abuse are devastating. For those who survive, the pain inflicted upon them as children will often influence their entire lives. If you or someone you know needs help, contact your local authorities immediately. This message from Fort Collins Radiator Shop, 417 Jefferson Street in Fort Collins. For all your radiator repair needs, they have 47 years of experience, family-owned and operated. Call 970-482-6783. That's 970-482-6783. The Beth Messiah Congregation invites you to come and experience a Messianic Roots biblically based congregational fellowship as we observe God's Shabbat in Messiah Yeshua. Praise and worship services begin at 10:30 a.m., followed by an Oneg Shabbat meal mid-Rosh and fellowship. Beth Messiah Congregation is located at 8333 Acoma Way in North Denver. You can find out more information by calling 1-800-205-6245. Everyone's welcome, so join us this Shabbat. And Shabbat Shalom, good Sabbath.
My friends, welcome back to Real Truth. We've got 4 minutes left in this broadcast week. I intend to make them count. Item from the Christian Post. In a political asylum case involving a German family that fled to the United States to be able to homeschool their children, the U.S. Justice Department is arguing that the freedom to choose to educate one's own children is not a fundamental right, unquote. First, let's get the easy stuff out of the way. Thank you, Obama voters. You thought you were voting for a liberal. Second, it appears in this latter age the country we're living in that all the rights we used to think we have, we don't. We don't have a right to free speech. Instead, we have to stand in a government-created free speech zone. We don't have the right to own weapons. We don't have the right to privacy. Now we don't have a right to school our own children. Look, long before there were government schools, when this country was new, how do you think kids got educated? Their parents taught them how to read and write and do math. And so don't tell me it's not a fundamental right. It's been with us from the very beginning. Leave it to the U.S. Justice Department, to Barack Obama's Justice Department, to turn the world upside down, tell us what's right is wrong and what's wrong is right. Item from the New York Post. Actor Alec Baldwin allegedly called a black Post photographer a racial epithet, a crackhead, and a drug dealer during a confrontation on an East Village street yesterday morning, prompting police to intervene. The 30 Rock star grabbed a reporter, Tara Palmieri, by her arm and told her, quote, "I want to choke you to death," unquote, Palmieri told police, for whom she played an audio tape of the conversation. He then called G.N. Miller, a decorated retired detective with the NYPD's Organized Crime Control Bureau, and a staff photographer for the Post, a, quote, "coon, a drug dealer," unquote, Miller's police statement said, unquote. My friends, Alec Baldwin is a well-known liberal. Where you find liberals, you will almost always find real, honest-to-goodness racism. Where you find, I'll say it again, where you find liberals, you find real, honest-to-goodness racists. And so it doesn't surprise me at all to hear Alex Baldwin, who, by the way, is a nitwit, but he's a liberal nitwit. And so when a little pressure is exerted, it will ooze, the racism will ooze out of him, allegedly. Item from redflagnews.com, written by constitutional attorney Michael Connolly. How would you feel if you received a letter from the U.S. government informing you that because of a physical or mental condition the government says you have, it's proposing a rule that you are incompetent to handle your own financial affairs? Suppose the letter also stated the government's going to appoint a stranger to handle your affairs at your expense. That would certainly be scary enough, but it gets worse. What if the letter also said, quote, "A determination of incompetency will prohibit you from purchasing, possessing, receiving, or transporting a firearm or ammunition. If you knowingly violate any of these prohibitions, you may be fined, imprisoned, or both." This letter, my friends, is being sent by the U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs to hundreds, perhaps thousands of American veterans, unquote. So if you are a veteran, the government's about to tell you that you're not able mentally to be confident holding a firearm. And if you get one, the world's going to collapse on you. Veterans out there in my audience, how do you feel about that? Are you glad you served this country? Well, I think you are glad, but look at now what the government's doing to you. It's a crime. We're done for the week. We'll have more crimes, more angst, more aggravation on Monday when we come back with more Real Truth. My friends, stay safe. Stay healthy. And this is the easy part. Stay angry.